Good morning. My name is Jack on Sundays. I have not known Jack as long as many of you have, but I have known him as a friend, a shipmate, and as one of my patients that I have taken care of in most hospitals I work at, as well as aboard ship. I never knew when or where Jack would show up. Sometimes his name would cross my desk, sometimes I'd get a message or a note on my text that a friend of mine was upstairs in a room, or that he had been in the emergency room. Every time I'd see Jack in the hospital, I would ask, "What did you do now, Jack? And did you let your daughter know you're here?" His answer was always the same, "No." I didn't want her to worry. Tina, I'm sure it's no surprise to you, or anyone that knows Jack, that he could be a little stubborn. And that once he made up his mind, that's how things were going to be. Jack made a number of flights out of the area and out of state for last year. None without an incident. He would get to the airport, have a fall before he made it to the terminal. Airline officials would call 911, paramedics and fire would respond, and tell him, "Sir, we need to take you to the hospital." His answer was always the same, "No, I have to make the flight." So they'd get a wheelchair for him, take him through check-in, and into the gate, where he got priority boarding and seating. And then they would meet him at the end of his flight with a wheelchair. I often tell him that the airlines were on the lookout for him now, and that if they spotted him approaching the airline terminal, that they should not bother calling 911 when he falls. They would just be wasting resources, because he would refuse to go to the hospital. They should just call for a wheelchair, take him to his plane, and give him the best seat. Jack was a man who liked routine. He had the same routine every Sunday he worked on the road. He'd always stop at the same place for breakfast. He was always early for every watch he stood. He would arrive and sign in at the afterbreath, spend a couple minutes talking with the guys, pick up a radio from the radio room, check the batteries, ensure that it's tuned to the right channel, then announce that he's going to go get a cup of coffee up in the crow's nest, and then make rounds to the second deck. He would then walk off, leaving his radio at the desk. On the second deck, there are two lights and one door that Jack felt should never be on or open. That door and one of those lights was in the compartment that goes from the Chief Petty Officer's mess across the port side berthing. The other light was over the lavatories in the Marine Detachment head. He made it his job to secure that door and lights, and to let everyone know that he had done so, and that there was no reason for these lights to be on. Even though the museum staff thought that these areas should be open and lighted for the public. If for some reason I found these areas closed or dark, and I knew Jack was coming, I'd open them up and I'd turn the lights on, just so Jack could have the pleasure of turning them off and closing the door and complaining about them being on and open. After he completed his rounds on the second deck and made sure everything was secure, he would return to the afterbrow and take his watch at the desk. When we would discover that he left his radio at the desk, we would track him down and get the radio to him. The best way I found to locate Jack was go to the Marine Detachment head on the second deck. If the lights over the lavatory were on, then proceed aft to the Chief Petty Officer's desk and check the other light and door. If they were on and open, then proceed to the crow's nest and where usually we would find them. I tell you this because I had the honor, I tell you this because I had the honor of escorting Jack aboard the Hornet today to stand this last watch. Knowing Jack to be a person that liked routine, I wanted to make sure that Jack followed that same routine that he followed every Sunday he worked. We arrived aboard ship at 08:45 hours, quite a bit early for his scheduled 11 o'clock watch. I signed myself and Jack in at the afterbrow. I talked with some of the guys at the afterbrow. I checked out a radio, made sure the batteries were charged and tuned to the correct channel. And then I made sure to walk away, leaving it on the desk. I then took Jack to the crow's nest and poured a cup of coffee. We then proceeded to the second deck, Chief Petty Officer's mess, where I secured Jack's light and the door to the department. We then proceeded forward to the Marine Detachment head, where I secured Jack's lights over the lavatories. We then toured the rest of the second deck and found everything to be in order. To those of us who work the Sunday watch, these lights will always be Jack's lights. I then brought Jack to Hangar Bay 3, where he will complete his last watch. Jack was a gentleman, a shipmate, and a friend.
Security staff copies.